The following podcast is brought to you by Iconic Nation Media.
Welcome to The Winning Edge, the podcast where champions are built and legacies are made. I'm Leonard Wheeler, former NFL player turned entrepreneur of 24 years and co-executive director of the NFL Legends community. After years of being on the field, I've learned that the real game starts when the stadium lights go out. This show is your all-access pass to the mindset, strategies, and leadership lessons that fuel success beyond sports. Each week, we will dive into what it truly takes to win in business, leadership, and life. We'll discuss how elite athletes, game-changing entrepreneurs, and industry leaders turn discipline into dominance and setbacks into comebacks. The next play is yours.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for being here to another episode of the Winning Edge podcast. My name is Leonard Wheeler, and I'm your host today. I have an amazing guest. He is the CCO, Chief Commercial Officer for Profound Medical. His name is Tom Tamberrino, and Tom has become more than just a friend. He has become a brother. But I will not do justice by introducing you. So I'm going to ask that you would introduce yourself and tell these amazing people who Tom Tamberrino is.
Leonard, privileged to be here. Humbled to have the opportunity to be here with you and serve as your brother. I am the Chief Commercial Officer of Profound Medical. It's a responsibility I take extremely serious. I've been with the organization now for a year and 3 weeks. But that doesn't define who I am as a human being. Obviously, there's a lot more layers, I think.
Okay.
I'm complex as the next man, and I'm excited to dig in with you today, man to man, so that your listeners can do the same with their friends and their brothers after they get done listening to this podcast today.
Awesome. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming to Charlotte, North Carolina to sit with us today. I want to start off by asking, you have a significant role, right? But you're also a father, your husband, your friend, your uncle, right?
Yeah.
Tell us who Tom, give us a little backstory of where you've come from over the past years.
Happy to. And I think that, the mark of a man is, the legacy that he will leave after he is done with his rented time here on earth. And I've been raised that way from day one. So my parents are both still alive, Richard and Jean Tamberrino, and they were civil servants. So my father worked for the Criminal Justice Department for the state of Maryland for 30 plus years. My mom was an educator in the Baltimore County public school systems. So by no means were we wealthy, but by no means were we poor.
Okay.
And in my household, we did not measure success by monetary items, right? We measure success, quite frankly, by work ethic. And so as the oldest of 4 children growing up in Baltimore, I can tell you that we all earned our keep. And that mentality has driven me to be an athlete, both in high school and college. It's driven me to be a professional.
You have to tell us what sport you played in college. What sport did you play in college?
Well, it was a bit obscure sport. It's going mainstream now, but lacrosse.
But your wife also played lacrosse in college.
Yes.
And where did you play lacrosse in college?
Yep. So I went to Georgetown University.
And your wife went to?
Vanderbilt University.
And you have kids that now play lacrosse as well.
We do, but there is zero pressure, Leonard, for them to play
lacrosse
or play in college.
No, I get that.
But this from being an athlete and being in a locker room, that brotherhood, that sisterhood, that builds off of the familyhood that we just talked about. And so you learn very quickly that in life, to be successful, you cannot go it alone.
Okay.
Right.
So now you just mentioned the locker room.
Yes.
Right. What is it that you found so significant about the locker room connection?
Well, I'm just finishing reading your book, Beyond the Locker Room.
Okay.
And I'm going to...
that was a plug, by the way.
No, shameless. It was autographed. I'm thankful for that. But so here I'm reading at 46 years old, right? The last time I walked out of a locker room was at 21 years old. But the book is applicable to my life today as much as it was then as it is now. What do I mean by that? Is that locker room, that's your place. That's your sanctuary. That's your place to be with men. Sometimes not clothed, many times clothed, but you're down to your essence, right? There's no place to hide. And
you're transparent.
Of course.
exposed.
Absolutely. And you better be on your game when you walk in the locker room.
That's right.
Right.
You better be on your game.
Because, in lacrosse, there's roughly 40 men on a collegiate roster, and it runs freshmen to seniors. Right nowadays, we got redshirt freshmen, reclass, et cetera. So you got 18-year-old men, you got 22, 23, 24-year-old men. Okay. Those years make a difference.
That's right.
But what I can tell you that I experienced there is that those men become your brothers, right? And maybe not by blood, but short of that, it's a brotherhood
because
to the
we're
nth degree.
spending a lot of time together.
And you're going through things together, right? You're going through wins and losses. You're competing for each other's positions on the field. And whether you're on the field or you're not on the field, the team is only strong as its weakest link.
Okay. Yeah,
right?
I like it.
So we need everybody
Yes.
to be locked in every practice.
Yes.
Right? We can't be taking plays off because you could be the next man up.
Okay, so take all of that into consideration in your transition on your journey. Before becoming the CCO of Profound Medical, talk to us a little bit about your journey and some of the things that maybe you were exposed to up until you became the CCO of Profound Medical.
Happy to. And I tell you, I'm privileged to be in this role, and it's where I'm meant to be on earth right now. I feel extreme calling to the purpose of what I have the privilege to do day to day. And I know we'll get into that throughout our conversation. But how I came to be here was not overnight, right? Tom's going to be a CCO. I started on the phone collecting delinquent credit card debt when I graduated from Georgetown University.
Okay.
September.
Young people, did you hear that? Okay, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, delinquent credit card debt. We can talk about that. Credit card debt is bad. You should not have credit card debt.
Yes.
That might be a different podcast. But I came out of Georgetown University when lots of my friends were going to Wall Street.
Yes.
I mentioned where my parents came from. I didn't have any business connections.
Okay, so when you say you mentioned your parents came from, and you talked about Darien.
Oh, so I was talking Baltimore.
Okay.
Now I live in Darien, Connecticut.
You live in Darien, Connecticut now.
Yes.
Okay. And so you're making this transition, dealing with delinquent credit card debt.
Yes.
And now what?
So let me tell you why I bring delinquent credit card debt. If you want to learn how to sell someone on paying you back the money that they already spent that they owe you. Okay?
Right.
Stay with me on that. Right.
That's
you,
good.
You got to pay me the money that you already spent that you owe me.
That you owe me.
That you're not paying me.
And that you probably don't have to pay off.
And you don't.
The debt.
And so those are some interesting conversations, right?
Yeah.
And look, debt collection gets a really bad rap, and it's rightfully deserved in many cases. But I can tell you my approach was the same way I approach what I do here today, is I see the person as just that, as a person.
Okay.
Right? This isn't a customer on the other end of the phone. This is someone who might have a mortgage payment they're behind on, right? They might have a car note they're behind on, and they're probably going through a tough time. And I've been through some tough times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going through this transition. You mentioned that you've been through some tough times.
Yes.
We understand that where our industry is right now, our country, the economy, there are some people going through some tough times with the government shutdown, et cetera.
Certainly.
And it can create all types of different dilemmas when it comes to emotions, creating uncertainties, and then how to manage certain moments. Talk about some of the tough times that you've went through to where maybe we could shed some light on what maybe some of the other people are going through at this particular time.
So listen, Leonard, I can talk about business tough times. I can talk about personal tough times. And for me, they both become the same, that life is life, business is life, personal is life. So I blend it all together. And there's no separation for me. And that is a blessing and a curse, in my opinion. But I take everything I do as a charge, a duty, an obligation. And what I'm about to share with you is also part of that. So I've struggled with mental illness in my life.
Talk a little bit about what that mental illness was for you, Tom.
Yeah.
So that we can kind of shed some light on that, because that's another stigma, right?
Absolutely.
That I think for us as men and women, right? But we're speaking for two men right now in terms of just kind of shed some light on that.
I'm happy to. And I'm unashamed about what I'm about to share, because that stigma is completely inappropriate. Because mental illness is an illness. Cancer, prostate cancer is an illness. Breast cancer is an illness. Good people get breast cancer. Good human beings get prostate cancer. You're a great human being. You got prostate cancer. You take great care of yourself. You still got prostate cancer. I think I'm a pretty good human being myself, and I just happen to get mental illness. So in my family, as I've learned, there's a gene that exposes us to potentially having depression and anxiety. And so I've faced in my life major depressive disorder, specifically treatment-resistant major depressive disorder, and generalized anxiety disorder. And what I can tell you is that when you're in that disease state and you're not well, you feel that you are in an abyss. There's this fog, this haze that you can't get out of. And you don't think there's any one other way out other than to potentially harm yourself. And having come out of that abyss, I know that the reason why I'm still here, why I'm on this podcast with you, why we've met each other, is to be able to share this message of health, men's health, mental and physical, that we should be having the same conversation, open and honest, to say to you, hey, Leonard, you have prostate cancer. Would you speak to other men who've been diagnosed with prostate cancer to help them understand the journey and how you manage that psychologically, socially, financially, and with your family? Tom, you've been through major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety disorder. Will you share that with other men?
But Tom, how did you come to the conclusion that this is, one, a mental illness, two, I'm depressed, three, there's a fog over me? What were the indicators at that particular time that allowed you to assess what was happening with you?
So self-proclaimed here, I think that I'm a high achiever. Like I've always tried to be an excellent student, be an excellent athlete. I am no angel. I've got plenty of sins and plenty of room for opportunity to grow into who I want to become here as a human being. But what I can tell you was that I was hard charging, and mentality was pretty simple. Get up earlier, work later, suck it up, right? No excuses. Don't be a victim, right? And what happened for me was in June of 2023, I took on a little too much. At the time, I was in entrepreneurial activity. I was in the commercial, residential, real estate business, both building homes, selling homes, etc. And I was a one-man band. It was me. Obviously, I worked with a lot of different subcontractors, some of which are close friends of mine to this day, but I was not taking good care of myself. I wasn't sleeping right. I wasn't eating right. Those two things in and of themselves are major, what I would call platforms to take care of yourself or set yourself up to not be well. But what happened to me was I began to get to the point where I could not control what's referred to as my parasympathetic nervous system.
Okay.
Right? So I was always on edge.
What does that control?
So think about it this way, is like right now I can say to myself, Tom, put your feet on the ground, put your hands on your knees, and just breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. If you don't have control of the parasympathetic nervous system, you can suffer from a panic attack. So panic attacks are very real.
They're very real.
And I've suffered my fair share.
Very prevalent.
Right? And so for me, this leg would shake incessantly. This wouldn't stop shaking. Now, this leg doesn't shake unless I tell it to shake. Perspiration, breathing. So basically, you feel that now you're in control of recognizing the moments. Leonard, I'm going to go really far. I'm bulletproof now. And why am I bulletproof? Because of what I've been through and what I've learned. So what have I learned? I've learned acceptance and commitment therapy. I've learned cognitive behavioral therapy. I've learned dialectical behavioral therapy. And all of these things do not give me a psychiatry degree, but I can tell you it gives me lived experience.
Yes.
So then I sit with another man or woman who's in the throes of a mental health crisis, whether that be bipolar disorder, depression, or mania, whether that be general anxiety disorder, whether that be mental distress as it relates to not being able to control your thoughts. I can resonate, and I can go to my playbook, my tool belt, and say, look, I'm not here to compare. I'm here to share.
So what message do you give to the individuals who there are a lot of things that come along with that, right? In terms of shame, judgment, to where you can feel judged, you can feel shame, right? When you're going through something like that. You can also, people become judgy, right? Because of the stigma, they're thinking like, well, that's just them not wanting to own up to something. That's just them being in a bad state. They're choosing to have mental illness. Like, this is not real. Like, what do you say to those people who are downplaying something that could be a real disease, right? And then what do you say to the people who are carrying around the shame and judgment and the heavy burden of not wanting to be transparent because of the heaviness of the burden?
So those are two different answers, right?
Yes.
The first answer is ignorance is bliss. Like you want to go put your head in the sand and pretend that this isn't real? Have fun. This is as real as it gets. Mental illness has been an illness for a long time. It's becoming more prevalent given the world we live in. We're losing men to suicide between the ages of 15 and 44. It's the leading cause of death for men between 15 and 44.
Yeah.
That's astonishing. Now, I'm going to say that they died from suicide, right? Just like a man can die from cancer. And if you see what I did there, I'm talking about the disease. And so I don't think cancer patients go, oh, I'm going to blame the cancer for all the other problems in my life. No, they fight the cancer. And those people you just talked about, what do? They wear pink ribbons, they wear blue ribbons, they bring casseroles to your house. If you got kids that need a car ride, they'll help you take a car ride. But if you tell somebody that you are suicidal, that you've got bipolar disorder, that you have major depressive disorder, or you suffer from anxiety, you might not be in that carpool anymore. I don't want my kids going with Tom. He's got a mental illness. Well, what I can tell you is that is the exact reason why we're here today. That's the exact reason why we met each other, to talk about men's health, mental illness, prostate health, and the stigmas that remain, even though you're not alone, right? People say that you're not alone, Leonard. Tom, you're not alone. You're not alone means sitting down and having this conversation.
Yes.
You're not alone is not rhetoric. You're not alone is I'm going to look you in the eyes and put my hand on your shoulder and say, are you okay?
Right. And that is one of the things that, working in an NFL office and, working with the NFL Legends community, we're able to reach out to our guys and have those significant conversations and create an emotional attachment to make sure we check in. Hey, are you good? How's your family? What are you going through? Do you need me? Do you need to walk with me? And you and I, we're very transparent in terms of we have real dialogue. We have real conversations around just mental illness, around disease, etc. So let me ask you a question. Early in earlier podcasts, I talked about how I met you.
Right.
And, I talked about it was the next day after my procedure with the Tulsa Pro. And, Kathy Bush, bless her heart, she's so amazing.
We love you, Kathy.
Yeah, we love you, Kathy. And, she said, I'm calling Tom.
Yeah.
What was your initial reaction when you looked and you saw this brother? Not that you looked at me as a brother, but as a brother.
I know what you meant.
And here I am pitching. I felt like I was pitching by saying, "Hey, I had a dream that was in front of thousands of people." What was your initial thought?
So you were on screen. It was FaceTime screen. Your wife, Kimberly, was on screen as well, right? And Kathy was there also. The reason I pick up Kathy's phone calls is because, one, Dr. Joe Bush and Kathy Bush are tremendous human beings.
Right.
Number two, as a business professional, they're arguably the top customer in the world for the Profound Medical team. But three is, unfortunately for me, my head goes to, oh man, something might be wrong. Right? Like this could be a treatment day. Did the technology not work properly? Is our local team around? They've called people they haven't picked up. Oh my. And so I was quite surprised to see you and your wife. But very quickly, what came to me was that you just had the procedure yesterday.
Not even 12 hours.
You were smiling, you were happy, and you were talking about a dream that you had. And the dream was very specific. And if I remember correct, right, you were speaking to thousands of men, potentially women as well in an audience, and sharing a message regarding health, right? And I believe by the time we got done that, my head was like, well, where do we go next?
And not only did he say that, everyone, is that he came to this house probably less than 2 weeks later.
Thereabouts, yeah.
And we created a relationship that brings us even to this point.
Yeah.
We're going to have a fireside chat
Oh, yeah.
In your hometown.
Yeah, Darien, Connecticut.
We're also going to have an event at the corporate office for Tulsa Pro, for Profound Medical.
Right.
In Toronto, pretty much next week, in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
In 2 weeks.
19th.
Talk about the call to step up. Talk about the call to show up. Talk about the call to do more.
So let's think about that, Leonard, right? We had our initial conversation and, you have on your desk around the corner, goal getter, I believe is what's on your desk. So I'm in the same boat as you, man. I like setting goals because I like to meet those goals. And then once those goals are met, let's set the next one. So the language we use at Profound are OKRs, objectives and key results. Very big vernacular in Silicon Valley right now as well. So for us, we've set OKRs together of how we're going to bring that vision, that dream that you had to reality. It's not just, hey man, let's go down to Charlotte.
Good dream.
Go to the Wheeler backyard and invite 10,000 people over and have an event, right? It's going to take time to build to that and earn the right, the privilege to congregate that many people together to hear the message that we're sharing and that others will share with us because we're strong enough to share what we're talking about here today. Prostate cancer, mental illness, men's health, men talking to men in a way that they would talk about football, parlay lines, you name it. So the 19th, yourself, Leonard Wheeler, Dr. Cianti. Dr. Cianti has recently completed his 200th Tulsa procedure.
Amazing.
He's a urologist and an international thought leader, not only in Tulsa procedures, but also in HIFU procedures, which are high intensity focus ultrasound. And I mentioned that to say, me being here is not Tulsa Pro, Tulsa Pro, Tulsa Pro. Me being here is let's raise awareness about men's health. Let's raise awareness about prostate health. And let's raise awareness about the options that you have if you suffer from prostate disease. So you, the patient, can choose from the menu with your clinician on what you should be doing. So that 19th event is geared towards men and or their caregivers.
And everybody is available to join.
Absolutely.
Like the more the merrier.
Brothers, uncles, sons, daughters, cousins,
and
mothers.
And we need them.
The caregivers are, you can probably speak to this better than I, but the caregiver team is part of the treatment process and the healing process.
Listen, having my amazing bride, having my wife, Kim, and having our children around, but also having friends, having family members, my mom, my sisters, my brothers who came over and prayed for me before I went and had the procedure in Atlanta. We're all caregivers of each other. We're all carrying the burden for each other. And I think, I'm sure you can attest to this, growing up, that's what we did in our communities, is that we raised each other's children. What do you say in this world today, though, to where there's such a stigma in terms of don't touch me? I know growing up in the projects where I grew up, don't touch my butt. Like, don't touch my butt. Hold on, you trying to man, you gonna touch my butt?
Right.
Man, you're not touching my butt. What you want?
Digital rectal exam, DRE.
That's what I'm saying. And so you're talking about, just having real conversation around the fear that exists there, right? And and just the stigma that we all grew up with, Tom. How do we continue to go past that by offering something different?
And I think, Leonard, it happens one conversation at a time, right? So that was the community that you were raised in. Those are beliefs that are instilled in you by the community, right? And you do this when you're on a team, right? I'm sure it was the same in the NFL as it was in college, similar for me in college. You share team values, team beliefs.
Right.
There's core beliefs. Not everybody believes the same strength of them, but there are core beliefs. So we need to take these individual beliefs and change the core belief. And what I mean by that is that having a digital rectal exam could save your life. So what's more important to you? To live till you're 65, 75, 85, or not have someone touch your butt?
Okay, so how do we change that dynamic? Because it's a conundrum. Because a lot of times when you're in that space, you're not thinking about your legacy. You're not thinking about your wife and your kids. It's a selfishness that sometimes exists to say, I'm thinking about myself. How do we get past that part and change the narrative?
All right, so you ready? So let's talk about PSA for men, prostate-specific antigens. So it's the frontline gold standard to suggest whether or not a man may have prostate disease.
Which is a blood test.
Right. So
this is not a physical examination.
Nope.
Where it's a blood test that anyone can get, that any man can receive.
Yes.
Right? What's the significance of that?
So let's go to there again, right? This means anytime that you are getting blood taken to be tested for something, you could say, could you please check my PSA level as well? It's just like a checkbox, just another panel. So if you go, as we should, to an annual exam, that should be part of your annual exam with your primary care physician.
Did you guys hear what he just said? Say it one more time. Annual,
meaning every year,
yes,
exam with a primary care physician, your general practitioner, the front lines of medicine.
Yes. So what age should men start getting tested for their PSA?
So listen, this is not guidelines talking, right? This is
That's
just
right.
Tom
this
talking.
This is us talking.
Right. So if you want exact recommendations, you go to the National Cancer Coalition Network, NCCN guidelines,
Right.
or the American Urological Association guidelines, right? Those are published. They are backed by their societies. Those are
That's
written
right.
in blood.
I love it.
But the unfortunate privilege that I have being in the job that I'm in now with Profound, right, is that on a global scale, I get to see the landscape of men and healthcare around men as it relates to prostate disease. And men are getting prostate disease earlier and earlier, right? We just met with a man yesterday for lunch who was in his mid-40s, diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer.
At the age of 47.
Yes.
Yes.
Now he's still with us. He's an unbelievable human being.
5 years later.
Right.
Yep.
And he is out keep pounding prostate cancer.
That's right.
Kevin's an unbelievable man. We'll talk more about him, I hope, on one of your
Yes.
podcasts coming up, and how we can work together to raise awareness in the communities that he serves. But that's the ticket, right? Which is, it's just a blood test.
Yes.
So do you take your car in to get an oil change?
Do you get maintenance?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. Do you get your heating, your cooling system? Do you get maintenance on it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then let's think about, if you don't get maintenance on it and it breaks down, does it cost you more to get it fixed?
Yes.
As opposed to the preventative maintenance?
Instead of maintaining.
I mean, this is basic common sense that we hide from.
So your CEO, Arun,
Yes.
who's a great man,
Wonderful man.
went through the Tulsa procedure as well.
Yes.
Talk about the significance of the Tulsa Pro with Profound Medical.
Again, I'm speaking Tom layman's terms,
Yep,
right?
we're speaking layman terms.
So as a prostate cancer survivor, if you would have had prostate cancer 100 years ago, prostatectomy was just
What's the
getting
standard?
started.
Gold standard.
Right. So it's evolved, right? The techniques have become better. What do I mean by that? More precision. How do you get more precision? So instead of putting your hands inside the patient as a surgeon, right, now we're going to do it through laparoscopes, minimally invasive procedures. So you just got a few ports being put into you while you're under general anesthesia. And then comes the advent of intuitive surgical, the Da Vinci robot, disrupted laparoscopic surgery for the better, right? And so that's been about 20 years now. But where I'm heading with this is, even if you just do 20 years of robotic prostatectomy, 20 years of laparoscopic prostatectomy, 20 years of prostatectomy, 60 years of prostatectomy, nothing's changed other than the mechanism of doing the prostatectomy. Where does Tulsa Pro come in is that we don't do surgery, right? We use the natural orifice of the urethra. We place the patient under general anesthesia in the MR room, where you are accustomed to getting MRI scans
Yep.
for diagnostic reasons, but there's a growing swell of interventions that are being image guided by MRI, Tulsa Pro being one of them. And you go under general anesthesia. Our technology does the hard work after your physician inserts the ultrasound applicator into your prostate. So I don't want to go too scientific,
Understood.
but we use directional ultrasound. And the directional ultrasound is delivered in a very precise fashion so that we can get down to basically the 1 millimeter to 1.3 millimeter of precision. And we use temperature control to get just the right temperature, just like when you're cooking a steak and you want it medium rare.
That's right.
Right? You put the thermometer in. Okay, I'm right there, 125. Time to pull it off the grill, let it sit for 5 minutes. A bit of a crude analogy, but we do the same thing with the prostate
That's
tissue.
right. Yes.
We make sure that we kill the tissue that we're targeting and we leave the tissue that we want to remain intact. And that's what allows us to preserve the man. Urinary continence, sexual function, penile length.
Yes. Okay, can you mention those three one more time?
Yeah, we'll go in reverse order. Penile length, sexual function, urinary continence.
And this becomes significant, not just for you,
Yeah.
but also for your wife, your significant other, your children in terms of playing with them, right? And having to wear diapers, right? Because it's real. I mean, just going. So there's so much to unpack, okay? I want to kind of just stay in this place of talking about our significant other for a second.
Okay.
And our children.
Yep.
When you were going through your mental illness,
Yes.
at that particular time, talk about the strain, if there was some strain or discomfort that maybe was created in your home of your wife understanding, your kids understanding. Like, talk about that for a second.
I mean, this one, this is raw for me because the strain was significant, right? As I mentioned earlier, I'm by no means an angel, but I'm a pretty high achiever. Like, I function at a very high level, I think. I've been given the God-given abilities to grind, right? To analyze, to think quickly. I think I'm decent with the English language, right? And I'd like to win, but I like to win the right way, right? I want to win by playing within the rules, not illegal, not immoral, not unethical. And I want to instill those same beliefs in my children, right? That just because you do all the right things doesn't guarantee you the result that you want. That's not how life works.
Right.
But how life works is when you get knocked down, you get back up. All the successful people that I've met in my life, whether they're playing the NFL, whether they're an executive coach, whether they're a commercial officer, salesperson, sweep floors, collect trash bins, they just get back up.
Okay.
The will to not yield. And so for me, going through what I went through, the disease tells you that you're worthless. The disease tells you that your family's better off with you dead than alive. The disease tells you that you shouldn't leave your bed. The disease tells you not to eat. And the disease starts to give you cognitive distortions where you believe things that are not true. But man, in your mind,
They feel true.
They feel so true. And they can loop, right? They call these looping cognitive distortions. So back to the marriage and the children, this is well documented with my parents who answered my phone calls every day when I was sick, is I just said to them every time, I don't want to lose my kids.
How old were you?
So listen, Leonard, this is fresh, man. This is 2025. I was 2023 to 2024. So I was 44, 45.
So it's important. And the reason I asked that question, it's important for people to understand that it can happen at any age,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no distinction there in terms of, oh, well, this can only happen when you're in your 20s or your teens or in your 30s. No. This happened just some years ago.
It is. I have been well now longer than I was sick, but I was sick for a year. And I've now been in the position that I'm certain the same way you probably look at prostate cancer, what is right, that's the enemy.
1,000%.
The enemy is depression. The enemy is anxiety.
And sometimes the enemy is enemy,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And so sometimes the enemy becomes enemy.
Yes.
Like it becomes in me. We become the enemy sometimes to ourselves, not recognizing that the enemy sometimes can be us.
Absolutely.
So you were diagnosed, you went through that whole process, and I'm bringing all of this together for a reason.
I see it coming.
Okay? Because when you think about the significance of what you do now in terms of serving, if you think about the significance of you going through mental illness, now you can relate. It becomes a relatable conversation that when someone else is dealing with it, you now can attest to it, right?
Yes.
And so being on this side of serving other people.
That's why I'm still alive, Leonard. That's why I'm still here.
Why is it important for you to make sure that you're sharing this with your family and with your friends?
So here it is, right? And I look at you and I look up to you. You're a leader of leaders. You're a leader of people. I've seen you do it at luncheons yesterday. I saw you do it this morning with me in the gym, right? Is that you're leading people to be better people for the next people. So let's take that a step further. What do I mean by that is I think that I've learned the language that I spoke to before because I've found my people. my people are people with mental illness. And so I meet with people of all races, all creeds, all sexual orientation, you name it. And I meet them, whether it's through the National Alliance of Mental Illness, or I meet them while they're inpatient at a facility in New Canaan, Connecticut called Silver Hill, where I have the privilege to volunteer, is when I sit with those folks, I explain to them that though we've just met each other, we are 3 a.m. friends. What do I mean by that? When it's dark and it's cold and you think that no one else in the world feels the way you do, that you feel so alone, that you think the only way to stop that just unbelievable pain and suffering is to end your own life, you call me. I will pick up. I will come to you. Because I've been there at 3 a.m. I've made those phone calls. I know what it's like to try to take your own life because of a disease. And suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Permanent solution to a temporary problem. We just lost a young man in the NFL
a couple days ago,
right? All the promise in the world. But man, I don't know. What did we miss? What did we miss?
Yeah.
Well, how did we miss that? You've got the NFL Legends program, right? It's players running by players, looking out for players.
I was a transition coach where we had to go through suicide prevention classes. We had to go through all of that to become a transition coach. That's when it opened my eyes to be able to see and understand the significance of it, but the value that's added when you know better, you do better. When you know better, you talk better. When you know better, you ask better questions. When you know better, you become more awareness of the things that are happening around you. Right? So if you had to leave a message to people, to your kids, to your family, what is the message that you want people to know, or what do you want them to know about Tom Tamberrino, for one?
Okay.
What should they make sure that they understand about themselves, for two?
Okay. I get some oxygen to the brain here. I'm suffering from an amygdala hijack. Get some breath there. So, for me, Leonard, I've always tried to remain humble. There's a very fine line between confidence and cockiness. There's a very fine line between persistence and peskiness. But I drive a really hard bargain with myself. I hold myself extremely accountable as it relates to the work that I do, the way that I have the privilege to run my household with my wife, Kinsey. And I've always tried to instill in my kids, you finish what you start. So if you signed up for house basketball this season and you don't like your coach and the girls on your team, I don't care. You're going to finish the season because you committed to it, right? And it's the same thing that goes into business, right? If you do what you say and you say what you do, you will be successful.
Right, the consistency.
And that's it.
Yeah.
You're going to get knocked down. You're going to get prostate cancer. You're going to get major depressive disorder. You're going to get breast cancer. The odds are stacked against us. Everybody's got something. Some people have multiple somethings. Don't let it define you. You're not a victim. Okay? So rally yourself, and then rally your sisters and your brothers, your parents, your uncles, your nieces, your nephews, your friends, your former college teammates. Lean on them, because guess what? They're going through the same thing.
But how important is it to be able to ask for help?
I mean, listen, that to me, Leonard, is the greatest sign of strength. Is to say
that
this.
one more time, please, because a lot of times, you know this.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a weakness if we're asking for help. And who wants to show that vulnerability that, hold on, I don't need that person to think I need them. I don't need that man to think I can't do it.
Right.
One of the most insecure moments that I've ever had was over 25 years ago. This guy did an assessment on me and said, "You are insecure." I was like, no, you're insecure. You don't know me like that, right? And so when I went home later on that
the Wonderlic?
evening,
Was that part of the Wonderlic? What is that part
no,
of?
that was actually part of the assessment that I do. Called the Hartman Profile. It's a quantitative analysis of how you think on paper.
Okay.
So Dr. Medford looked at me and said, "I see here you're insecure." Oh, it was we were about to fight. And I went home later that evening and I'm like, yeah, my response was an insecure response.
Yeah.
that was insecurity.
Yeah.
How do we fight through those parts of emotion, Tom, when we're trying to find significance, but security overwhelms significance?
So I went to a TEDx talk at the Middlesex Middle School in Darien, Connecticut earlier this week with a few of my children. And the talk is 1 second of strength. And I think what we're talking about here is the same thing that this speaker was talking about. It's 1 second of strength to say, Leonard, I'm not feeling well, man. I've got some really dark thoughts. I need some help. How hard is that? Now, I know how hard it is because I've been there. But now that I've been on the other side of the abyss, I've come out of it and been in the space where you don't believe that you're worthy enough to ask for someone's help. Here's what you do find out, man. That hand that you just reached out to,
Yes.
it's going to pull you another rung up that ladder. And then after that, there's another hand that's going to pull you up another rung up that ladder. And the ladder that you think has no end to get to ground level, to get back to baseline,
Yes.
all of a sudden, your feet are on the last rung and your hands are back on ground, and you come back into yourself. And you recognize that you have the strength, because of the strength to ask for help, to now provide help to others.
Yeah.
And for me, that's the biggest thing, is why I'm still walking on earth, Leonard, is to be on a podcast like this with you, to share with the audience that's listening that two men, you're an alpha male. I'd like to think I'm like an alpha minus male. I'm close. But you're a successful man.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty successful by society standards.
Right.
Well, yeah, I didn't talk to you about what I went through for a year when I was nowhere close to being who I am today because I was sick. But I got to imagine cancer patients who go through 40 rounds of radiation, 60 rounds of chemo, right? And then are on 14 medicines trying to treat prostate disease, aren't able to have an erection, to have intimacy with their wife. How's their mental health?
Yeah. That's right.
Right? And so I can't pretend to understand what that patient's going through, but I can tell you this much. I know what it is to speak their language.
So I want you to do me, if you can do me a favor.
Yes, sir.
Before we finish here. If you could just look into the camera and just give her a message in terms of, I don't want to just say a message of hope, but I just believe this, that the Father creates moments for us to make sure that we allow Him to shine through us. Right? And He creates relationships so that we can sharpen one another. Men sharpen men, iron sharpens iron.
No doubt about it.
Right? What is a message that you want our listeners to take away from today?
I'll look at the camera. I mean, Leonard, there's so many things I want to say, but I think the biggest one is love yourself. Give yourself grace that you are in the moment, that you're supposed to be in this moment. And if we can go to Jelly Roll, right, it's okay to not be okay, because everything's going to be all right. So no matter,
I am not okay.
You got a better voice than I do. But think about that song to me, Jelly Roll's song, and then there's a song by Drew Holcomb called Find Your People. I highly recommend listening to it. Is that when we say you're not alone, you're not alone. There's not 10 other people. There's not 20. There's a million other people, if not more, that are going through that something.
That's right. Yes.
That you're going through. So whatever that something is, raise your hand and find someone else who speaks that language of that something and grab their hand. And then once you get out of that something, put your hand out to the next person who needs to get out of that something. And that's how we change the stigmas, right? And that's how we have podcasts like this happening daily instead of losing men to suicide as much as we do, or men to prostate cancer. No man should die from prostate cancer. No one should die from colon cancer, and no one should die from suicide. These are all preventable things that we collectively as a community can help each other with. So love yourself, give yourself grace.
So, Tom, thank you so much for being on this episode with me of the Winning Edge podcast. I am more blessed to have you in my life. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. I'm Leonard Wheeler. This was an amazing podcast. This is my brother, my friend, my colleague, Tom Tamberrino. Until the next podcast, be blessed.
Thank you for tuning in and listening to this week's episode of The Winning Edge. You can write in and ask your questions on my Instagram page at LeonardWheeler7, and I will address your questions on an upcoming episode. If this episode helped you, I would love for you to share it with your friends, colleagues, and family. Share the episode with those that you feel can benefit from it. You can also follow me on Instagram, TikTok, X, and LinkedIn, found in the show notes. I would greatly appreciate it if you would rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Subscribe now and let's build your legacy.